Hello again, everyone. This is the second part of the video. We're going to continue with chapter 2. So right after talking about branches, we're going to start talking about simple loops. Okay, so a branch, you only choose one alternative or the other one. Now loops, you're going to use them whenever you need an action to be repeated. Okay, so that way you don't have to be copy and pasting the same code all over and over again. Okay, so you just write it once and you repeat it as many times as you need. There are several ways to create loops. In this chapter, we're only going to see two. The first one, it's the while loop. Okay, so this is how you would write a while loop. Okay, so you have the word while. You have your Boolean statement here. Remember, whenever you have a loop or a branch. Okay, and then you have something inside parentheses that is your Boolean statement. Okay, so here we're counting down. So if the countdown it's greater than 0, then you're going to output hello, and then you're going, remember what I said about the shortcuts. Okay, so this is minus equal to, so that means that you are subtracting 1. Okay, so you have your Boolean statement, and then we have multiple statements. That's why they put it inside braces, just like the if else. Okay, so it outputs the hello, and then it subtracts 1 from this variable. Okay, so what do you think the code is going to do? Let's open source code 0 to 12. Okay, so again, you go to your source code 0 to 12, you create a new project. In my case, I had already saved it to save me some time. So I have it already here. Okay, so this is the same code. So if we run it, okay, let's see what it does first. It's going to ask you, how many greetings do you want? Let's say 3 greetings. So it's going to say hello, 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 and that's all. Okay, how does it do that? Okay, so it's going to ask you how many greetings do you want. Then you input how many you want, 3. And then it goes to the while loop. So here you started off with 3, and you're going to say, is 3 greater than 0? Yes. If it's true, or if your answer was yes, then it's going to output 1 hello. So you already have 1 hello. So this is the first time the loop is iterated. Then what happens? You're going to subtract 1 to countdown. And notice that here they did it the other way. So this is the long way. The way they did it in the slide would be like this. Oops, sorry, here I thought it was 1. How did they put it? Is it minus first? I mean, I forget that. Oh no, first is a minus. So it's minus equal 1. These two are the same. Okay, so you can use the one that it's easier for you. This is the way it was originally. Okay, so we said that it's the first iteration of the loop. Okay, it says hello. Now you remove 1 from countdown. So now the loop, what it does is that it's going to go back once it's done. Once it's finished, it goes again back to the while, and it checks again. But now, how much is your countdown worth? 2. Is it true? Yes, it's still true. So it's going to go inside the loop again, and it's going to output the second hello. It's going to go to countdown again. You're going to subtract 1. So now countdown is equal to 1. And remember, it's done, and it goes again to while. 1 greater than 0? Yes, it's still true. So it goes inside the loop, and it outputs the third hello. You subtract 1 again, and now countdown is equal to 0. So when you go back to the while and you try to compare 0 greater than 0, this is going to be false. whenever it's false, then it's going to get out of the loop and it's going to output the new line, and that's all. Let's debug it so that you can see it better. Okay, so F10. Okay, it goes to the first line. F10 again. How many greetings do you want? Let's put 3 again, the same ones we just covered. Okay, so it goes into the while loop. So you have 3 greater than 0. Is it true? Yes. So if I hit F11, it's going to go into the loop. Okay, it outputs the hello. Oh, sorry, it was supposed to be an F10. Oh, let's start again. Okay, so let me stop the debugging. Okay, so it's F10. Okay, we said 3. Enter. So it's 3 greater than 0. Hello. Okay, so once it passed this line, now countdown, it's worth 2. Everywhere you put the cursor on countdown, it's going to say 2 because you already subtracted 1. Now what happens next? It goes back to the while and compares 2 greater than 0. If this is true, okay, it's going to output another hello. And here, okay, your countdown is still 2. When we go past that line, it's going to be worth how much? 2 minus 1. Now it's worth 1. What do you think it's going to be? Go again. It's done. It goes back to the while. Let's see if it goes back to the while. Yes. Now we're comparing 1 greater than 0. Okay, it goes to the hello. It's still worth 1. Okay. Once we go past this line, it's going to be worth 1 minus 1. Okay, so now your countdown, it's worth 0. But even though you know it's still 0, it's still going to go to the while again. So it goes to the while again. But now you're comparing 0 if it's greater than 0. So it's not going to get out of the loop. Okay, or the loop, it's not going to stop until this condition is false. Now it's false. So do you think this is going to get executed? Or do you think it's going to go to the cout? Okay, so let's see what happens. See, now this part didn't get executed because the statement was false. So it doesn't stop looping until this is false. Okay, and then, well, that's all. Okay. And your program is finished. This is what the while loop does. Okay, so this is the code that we tested right now. So the first thing it does, it evaluates the Boolean expression. So it evaluates, let me show you here. When it encounters the loop, it evaluates the Boolean expression. Okay, so what happens? Okay, so let's start with the false Boolean expression. So what happens if it's false? So let's say if we start with a 0. How many greetings do you want? I don't want any greetings. So it didn't give you any hellos. Because if we were to debug it with a 0, okay, so it asks you for the countdown, let's say 0 here. Okay, so countdown 0 greater than 0, it's going to be false. So what's inside, it's not going to get executed. Look, see, it didn't execute any hellos because the statement or the Boolean expression inside the parentheses was false. Okay, so first the Boolean expression is evaluated. If it's true, then the body of the loop is executed. Okay, then after it executes the body, it goes back to the while, it checks the expression again, and if it's true, it executes it, it goes back and checks the while. It doesn't stop until, okay, the Boolean expression is false. Now, this is what we just saw. It might not execute at all if the first check is false. So we said we put the 0, then it didn't execute the body because it was false. So it didn't even go inside the loop. This is the syntax. Okay, so you have the while, then you have your Boolean expression or Boolean expressions combined with the and or not, and then again braces. Please don't forget the braces and the statements to repeat. Okay, you can do it with, if it's only one statement, you don't need the braces, but I highly encourage the braces even though it's only one expression. Well, here we had two. Although in the while, you are usually going to need two. Why? Because if I only put the hello, okay, you need something that makes your loop stop. For example, here you are subtracting 1. Okay, so eventually it's going to become false because it's going to become 0. Even if you start with a 10 or a 100, okay, eventually it's going to become 0 because you are subtracting 1. So that's why the while, it's very common that you have at least 2 statements. Okay, so braces always, even though it's 1. Okay, so let's continue with this. So focus on the red part. Okay, again, this is just your syntax. Okay, don't forget this slide is very important. Now, after the Boolean expression, you don't need a semicolon. Okay, so just make sure you know where your semicolon goes. Now in the body, statements 1, 2, and until the last statement, you do need the semicolon. So it's like here, notice you don't have a semicolon, but here you do, and here you do. And it was the same thing with the if-else, okay? Now, another meme. Okay, can you go to the store and buy milk? While you're there, can you look for eggs? Okay, and well, he never returns. Okay, because it's an infinite loop. Like, he was there the whole time, so there wasn't anything that made this expression false. So that's why he never returned. Now we have a variation of the while loop, and it's called the do-while loop. Okay, so this just adds one more element to it. Okay, so here what happens? Right, it's kind of like in English. Do this while this is happening. Okay, so here the body of the loop is first executed. Where is your Boolean expression? So here you can find it until the very end. Okay, remember on the other one, the Boolean expression was the first thing that you saw. Okay, so while this is true, then do this. But this, it's the other way around. Do this while this is true. Okay, so that means that here, this part, it's executed first, and then it checks. So while, in the while loop that we covered right now, if we put 0 and the expression is false, then the loop doesn't execute. Okay, on the other hand, the do while loop always gets executed at first, at least once. Why? Because this is executed first, then it checks. Well, we'll see right now how this works. But this is the syntax. Okay, so the semicolons only go after the statements, but notice that here, after the while and the Boolean expression, you do have the semicolon because you're closing the entire loop. Okay, so just remember how, like, everything you need here, like the do, then the braces, the statements with semicolons, and then while, the Boolean expression inside parentheses, and the final semicolon. Okay, so let's open display or source code 0 to 15. Okay, let me close this one. File, close solution. Let me open 0 to 15. Okay, so here we have a do while. Okay, so let's run it. Make the font bigger. 24. Okay, hello. Do you want another greeting? Press Y for yes and for no, and then return. Okay, let's put a. What happened? Don't analyze it. Okay. Well, again, I guess. Properties. 24. Okay. Do you want another greeting? Press Y for yes and for no. Okay, let's put a Y. Do you want another greeting? Yes. So it's not going to stop until you press no. Okay, then it says goodbye. Okay. How do you achieve this output? Okay, first of all, you notice that this part right here gets executed at least once. So when you open or when you run your code, that's the first thing that comes out. Hello, do you want another greeting? So it doesn't wait for you to give you an answer. It gives you the greeting first. Okay, then it asks you if you want another one, and then you can choose whether you want another one or you don't want another one. And then it goes to the while and checks. Now notice here you have a combination. You have two Boolean expressions using an OR. Okay, why? Because it doesn't matter. Remember that it's case sensitive. So it doesn't matter, like in order for you to be able to, okay, because your user may not know it's case sensitive. Okay, so you want it to work with either lowercase or the uppercase. Okay, because if you didn't have this part, well, let's run it like this. Let's try it. So let's put the lowercase y, it works. Let's put the uppercase y, it works. Okay, until you put the n. Now, if you didn't have this part right here, let me comment it, just that part. Okay, so even though you put the y, but if it's an uppercase one, it's gonna take it as a, well, let's say no. Okay, so yeah, the lowercase will work, but if you put the uppercase, it says goodbye, and it may confuse your user. So this would be one scenario where you can use the OR. And why OR? Because, well, it's either lowercase or uppercase. Okay, so if at least one of these two is true, then the whole thing, it's going to be true and it's going to be executed again. Now let me debug it step by step. F10. Okay, so it goes to the first line, do, so BC, that, okay, so it starts executing what's inside the do. So it doesn't matter if you said yes, if you wanted a greeting or not, that part gets executed. And then it's going to ask you for your answer. Let's say yes. Okay, so you put the Y. Now it goes to the while and it's gonna check if the answer was yes or if it was a no. Okay, so let's continue. Since you put a yes, then it's gonna go back to the do and it's gonna do all of this all over again and it's going to ask you again. Now let's put a no. Okay, so do you think it's gonna go back to the do or is it gonna go out? Okay, so now that this is false, then it goes out of the loop. Let's see if that's true. Yes, so now it goes to the cout. Okay, so this part right here gets executed, then it checks. Okay, if this is true, it goes back again to the do, it does all of this. Okay, asks you for another input, goes back and check, and it doesn't stop until this part right here is false. Then whenever it's false, it doesn't go back to the do. You saw that it goes straight back, straight out of the loop and it goes to the next statement. That's how the do while works, and that's the difference between the while and the do while. Okay, so just the increment and decrement. So unary operators are like +5, it's a positive number, or if it's a -5, okay, so that's a unary operator. The increment operator, this is the pun that they use to name the C++, you remember from chapter 1. Okay, so it's also a shortcut. If you want to add 1, okay, you just put x++ without the space. And there's also a shortcut to subtract 1, you just put x minus minus, okay, and it's the same thing as x equal to x minus 1. Okay, and it's also, remember the other shortcut that you had that I showed you in the previous video. Okay, so but this is very useful when you have loops because you don't have to write the whole thing. And sometimes, like for example, let me show you the code. What it was the previous code. Let me close this one. Close solution. Oh, let's stop debugging. Well, instead of showing you the code, instead of opening the code, let me just show you the one with the while. Okay, like here. Okay, so you want your loop to become eventually false. So here you could have just said like countdown minus minus, and it would have worked the same way. Okay, so you could have put countdown minus minus, it would have worked the same way. So there's 3 ways to do it, like this, the long way, using this shortcut, or just countdown minus minus. Okay, so that's another alternative for it. Let me go back to the way it was. Okay. So going back to the loop. Okay, so this is a sample program, and it's your source code 0216. Okay, I'm not going to run this one. Let me see if I have it here. Oh yeah, well, I closed it. Let's see, open project. I don't have it here, so I'm just gonna skip it, but it's the same. It's similar to the previous ones. For example, here you have a bank charge card balance of $50. It gives you 2% per month interest. How many months without payments before your balance exceeds $100? Okay, so here you have, for those of you who are in my engineering economics class or will be in the future, this is called compound interest. Okay, because you have the 50 plus the 2%, it gives you 51. So now next month the interest is calculated over the 51. So you add the 2% and it gives you that, and so forth. Okay, so that's compound interest. If you want to do that, you can implement it with a while. Okay, so you have your formula here. Balance equal balance plus 0.02 times the balance. And actually that formula we use it in the engineering economics class. Okay, so that means that it's the balance plus 2% of the balance. Okay, that's the 0.02 times the balance. Okay, and then you have the count plus plus. Okay, so the count, it's counting. What do you think it's counting? Okay, the count, as you can see in the last C out, okay, it says your balance due will be, and then the $, and then it says balance. I don't know if I don't think I can highlight it. Okay, but the balance, hold on, where is it? Okay, after count months. Okay, I'm sorry, it's the first C out. Okay, so the count, it's counting the months. Okay, so that's why you want to add 1, okay, after each while loop gets executed, because it serves as a counter. Okay, so that's just the purpose of the count plus plus, and it's very common that you use it inside the loops. Now let me talk a little bit about infinite loops, and I had mentioned this previously in class. These are the loops that never stop. Okay, so the loop should contain a line that will eventually cause the Boolean expression to become false, as I told you earlier. Okay, for example, this one gives you an example. Print the even numbers less than 12. Okay, this is one of the reasons why you don't want to use the not. Reason not to use not. Okay, why? Because, well, in this case it's going to work. Let's say x is equal to 2 while it's not 12. Okay, then you're going to output x, okay, and then you're going to add 2 to x. Okay, remember there's also an alternative to writing this. Okay, so it'd be x plus equal 2. Okay, so if you put it like this, okay, so in the first while, what is it going to output? 2. Okay, and it gets executed again. You add 2 to it. So now it's worth 4. Okay, so it goes back to the while. So now, is it not 12? Well, it's not 12. So it's going to go and output 4. And it's going to add 2 to it. So now you have 6. Okay, so it's going to go back to the while. It's going to check. Not 12. Okay, so it's still true. So now it's going to output 6. You're going to add 2, now it's 8, and so forth. So when you have 10, you're going to output 12. When you have 10, you're gonna add 2, and it's gonna be 12. So now it's gonna check if it's 12 not equal to 12. So whenever you have that, it's going to stop. But what happens if, let's say here you change it to 3? It's never going to be equal to 12. Okay, so it's never going to stop. Okay, so it's better to use the while x, well, the Boolean expression to be x, is it less than 12? Okay, because that way, even if it's an even number or an odd number, okay, it's eventually going to come to a stop. So this one right here, it's very specific. Okay, so it has to be different to 12 in order for it to keep running. Okay, so x not equal to 12. So that's why I don't recommend that you use the nots. It's better, this one, it's more, well, one, it's easier to understand, and two, it's more, we can say portable. Why? Because you can make any changes and to the code, let's say to the value of x or to your statement right here, okay, and it's not only stuck to number 12 or to this value in specific. Okay, so this one can be any value from 0 to 11. Okay, so that's why I don't recommend the not. I don't know if this was if my explanation was clear enough, but it's better to use the less than, greater than, or even less than and equal to, greater than and equal to, or even the equal. Well, the equal sign is the double, well, actually double equal. It's also a little bit iffy, okay, because it's also specific, like you just stuck to, let's say, x equal to 12 or x equal to a number, okay, but in this case it's totally the opposite, so it makes it even more confusing. Okay, but if you have questions, let me know on Wednesday or email me about the not, or when to use the not. We have reached the end of the loops section. You also have here two questions. Try to answer them on your own, and we'll go over them on Wednesday. Then I'm back to class. If you would like to obtain more information about loops, okay, I'm gonna ask you, or if you want to, this is additional, if you go to the link that I posted on Blackboard, okay, I think it's it says something about tutorial for beginners, C++ tutorial for beginners. These are the other resources, the videos that give you more information. So you can look, or you can watch the video number 12. This talks about the if statement. Video 13 talks about the if else. Then, oops, I played it. Then 16, I would recommend that you skip 14 and 15. Number 16 talks about while loops, and 17 about the do while loops. So this is in case you need further information about the loops. Okay, but again, if you have questions, email me, let me know the minute where you it wasn't very clear to you, and also you can get a screenshot and email it to me if you need to know that right away. If not, I'll see you on Wednesday, and I'll give you like a little a quick explanation of what we covered, and I'll continue with chapter 2. Thank you for your attention, guys. I'll see you later.